right now on Chronicle.
One-on-one with Senator Richard Burr. From issues facing our lawmakers in Washington.
What do you do when you've got a limited amount of dollars? Do you provide health care for seniors, or do you provide health care for children?
To how faith plays a role in his decision-making.
It would probably be impossible to make some of the decisions that I consider to be life or death.
And our panel discusses religion in Washington and on the campaign trail.
A total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
I'm Cameron Kent, and this is WXII 12 News Chronicle. Thank you for joining us for this new venture at WXII 12 News. 2016 is going to be a year full of campaign promises, stump speeches, and political sound bites that make sensational headlines. But here on Chronicle, we want to slow things down just a little bit, dig deeper, and answer questions about the issues that are facing our country, our state, and most importantly, the Piedmont Triad. We begin our debut show with my exclusive sit-down interview with Republican Senator Richard Burr. The Winston-Salem native has served in Congress for 2 decades, first in the House and now in the Senate. You and I stood on a roof at the Washington Hotel in 1995. You had just been inaugurated freshman congressman. What did you come to Washington to do back then, 20 years ago?
You know, I came to Washington to make sure that the future for my children and my grandchildren was equally as good, if not better, than the future I had inherited from my folks. And today, some 21 years later, I think we've made incremental progress. But, you know, it's like anything in history. You can't predict what the future looks like. And we've been thrown curveballs on the economy, and certainly we've been thrown a big curveball as it relates to the war on terror that we've seen emerge for the last 15 years. This is where I think we'll see the strength of the American people and the resolve of America as we take on those challenges and we overcome them. But the thing I'm reminded of today that's different than when I got here, I really thought it was about me then. I was a member of Congress. And what I've learned in 21 years, it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with any of us. It has everything to do with the next generation and whether we're going to be bold enough to make decisions that might be unpopular today that are beneficial tomorrow to our kids and our grandchildren.
In your role, leadership role on the Intelligence Committee, you're privy to a lot of information that we don't ever get to hear. How big a threat do you think ISIS is to the American way of life?
Well, ISIS is certainly the biggest threat in my lifetime. And I don't think it will be surpassed for the balance of my life. But the defeat of ISIS, not the containment, the defeat of ISIS will take every bit the global commitment that countries made to the Second World War. It's a different type of enemy, it's in a different location, but it's every bit as threatening to the future of the United States and every other developed country in the world today, so it's something we have to take extremely seriously.
I'd like to ask you about the discourse in Washington, the tone of the rhetoric. Has that changed in the 20 years you've been here, and is it helpful to the process, particularly with what we're seeing in the Republican debates these days?
You know, as much as we've all become accustomed to utilizing it, social media has changed drastically the way that Americans interact. Social media allows people to provide a narrative without identity, which means that what used to be diplomatic and civil can be as wild and crazy as possible because there's no identity to myself. Nobody knows it's me that's doing it. And I think that's changed the discussion and the discourse up here as well, because many of those folks email into our office, call into our office, write letters into our office, fueled off of something that might not have any factual relevance whatsoever. And that starts that snowball rolling down the hill, and it gets bigger and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. What we see in the presidential campaigns so far is a continuation of that, where candidates saying something that is thought through and somewhat diplomatic is sort of out the window. And it's really who can say the most egregious things that seem to charge the constituency up. I hope this is a temporary thing. If it's a permanent thing, it changes not only politics, but it changes governing in a very real way. I think that the United States Congress has always had a degree of divisiveness, but it could still govern. And the question is, can we continue to govern? And I think that responsibility lies not only in this institution, but also in the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue.
I want to ask you about gun control and the Second Amendment. You're a sportsman. You represent a state filled with people, law-abiding citizens who like to hunt, who enjoy that kind of thing. Given the fact of all the mass shootings we've seen, though, do you feel like that's something that needs to be tweaked or something that needs to be changed in any way?
Well, make no mistake, I think now's the time to have a debate on whether it does need to be tweaked. But if the only option is using additional government databases that have never been right, that always have inaccuracies, that jeopardize the American people and their Second Amendment right, then it's a debate we better have very carefully.
I'd like to ask you about your faith. Your father was a Presbyterian minister. How large a role does your faith play in your decision-making, in the way you vote, and the way you perceive the issues here in Washington?
I would tell you that any person that's not rooted in faith can't do this job. For the simple reason that many of the decisions that we make are decisions that are not decisions that are in our hands. They're in the hands of somebody much more powerful and much more dominant, and that's my God. Without that, it would probably be impossible to make some of the decisions that I consider to be life or death. Do you send troops into battle? What do you do when you've got a limited amount of dollars? Do you provide health care for seniors, or do you provide health care for children? These are all things that, on my own, I'm not willing to make those decisions. I have to turn to prayer and to trust that there's guidance that will be provided to me. To this point, that guidance has been there. That wisdom, I think, in many times is provided. But clearly the decisions we've got to make have gotten tougher. And it means without faith, this is not a job that one could stand very long.
Also in Washington, over in the House of Representatives, I sat down one-on-one with Congressman Mark Walker in his office on Capitol Hill. Walker serves North Carolina's 6th Congressional District, and he has a unique perspective on faith in Washington. You are a Baptist minister. First of all, just overall, how important is faith in your decision-making on Capitol Hill?
Well, it's important in every decision that I make. It's important in how I deal with my wife, my children, hopefully my daily life. So if it's a factor in every other aspect of my life, then I would say that it's one as well here on Capitol Hill.
When you have to make a decision that you think is a tough decision, do you go to prayer? Do you sit down and think about that on that level, that foundation, before you make that vote?
Well, that's a very introspective, powerful question, Cameron. I admire that you would even suggest or ask that. To be completely vulnerable, yeah, I start each day in prayer, because I don't know that one can trust their own intellect and instincts with all the different forces that is Washington, D.C. now. So yeah, absolutely. There's a group of us Monday night that come in after our first votes, that we meet in one of the rooms with the majority leader that's provided by the majority leader, and we have a time of just processing and praying and looking through legislation. And whether they're Democrats, Republicans, if a family has a need, we do take a time of prayer, and not ashamed of that because I think that is something that's interwoven into the history of our country.
Does it ever cause internal conflict for you when you are making decisions about sending young men into war to kill an enemy, the Bible telling you to love your enemies? Does that create a paradox for you?
No, it doesn't, and here's why. Because when I came to Washington, the oath that I took was to do everything in my power, legislative-wise, to protect the people of the United States. Now, I've got my Bible here with me, but my oath is to the Constitution in this particular capacity. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to try to reach out and connect and talk, and if I can counsel or whatever the needs are that run across my daily life that God allows to intersect, that I will do that. But my job right here in Washington, D.C. is to make sure that I'm protecting the citizens of the United States.
Congressman Walker served at Calvary Baptist in Winston-Salem before moving to Lawndale Baptist Church in Greensboro. We continue our conversation on faith and politics next with some recent comments from evangelist Franklin Graham.
I want Christians to get out and I want them to vote.
Why Franklin Graham says he's on a campaign for God. Our panel of experts will be here to talk about that, along with other religious issues on the campaign trail. That's next on Chronicle.